the Ugly Little Pheasant. Once upon a time, nestled deep in a cosy grassy meadow filled with yummy seeds and wiggly worms, lived a family of pheasants. Mamma Pheasant was warm and kind, with soft brown feathers like fallen leaves. Papa Pheasant was very handsome, with colourful feathers on his head, a bright red patch around his eye, and long, beautiful tail feathers that shimmered gold and brown in the sunshine. Now, something unusual had happened just before nesting time. There had been a big gusty wind one night that rattled the trees and blew leaves everywhere. The next morning, while tidying her nest, Mamma Pheasant found an extra egg lying near the edge of the meadow, looking cold and lonely. It was slightly bigger than her own eggs and a different shape, but Mamma Pheasant had a kind heart. "Oh, you poor lost thing," she clucked softly, and carefully, gently, she rolled the mystery egg into her own warm nest beside the others. Soon, one sunny morning, tap, 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 went the eggs in the nest. One by one, fluffy little pheasant chicks hatched out. There was Finn, Freddie, and Felix. They were tiny balls of fuzz, brown and yellow, cheeping loudly for their breakfast. Mamma and Papa Pheasant were very proud. Then the slightly bigger mystery egg began to wobble. Tap, tap, crack! Finally, out tumbled another chick. He looked much like his brothers, maybe a tiny bit bigger, and definitely a bit clumsier, stumbling over his own little feet right away. "Let's call him Patch," chirped Mamma Pheasant, nuzzling him gently. He seemed to have patchy bits of fluff that stuck out oddly. Finn, Freddie, and Felix were already excited about growing up. "We'll be handsome like Papa," Finn would boast. "With colourful heads," added Freddie. "And long shimmery tails," chirped Felix. Then they'd look at Patch, who was concentrating so hard on pecking a stubborn seed that he hadn't heard them. "What about Patch?" snickered Finn. "He can't even peck straight." "He trips more than he hops," giggled Freddie. "Look at him wobble. He's just Patch the Plane," declared Felix. "Patchy feathers, patchy walking." Patch heard them that time, and his little head drooped. Why couldn't he be quick and sure-footed like his brothers? Why were his feathers such a plain, muddy colour? One afternoon, Patch was feeling particularly sad. His brothers had discovered the tiniest, faintest hints of colour starting on their own feathers and were making a huge fuss, strutting back and forth. "See, Patch?" "Real colour," said Finn, pointing with his beak to a slightly darker feather on his head. "Not like your dull fluff," added Freddie, puffing out his chest. "You'll never be handsome like Papa," teased Felix, flicking his tiny tail feathers. Patch felt a tear well up in his little bird eye. He wandered away from his boastful brothers, hiding near a patch of bramble bushes. He heard a soft little chirp nearby. "Hello." Patch peeked through the leaves. Sitting there was a young female pheasant, all soft brown feathers. "Hello," Patch chirped back miserably. "My name is Penny," she said kindly. "Why the long face?" "My brothers," Patch mumbled, kicking at a pebble. "They tease me because I'm plain and clumsy. They're getting colours, but I'm just brown and patchy. They say I'll never be handsome." Penny tilted her head. "Well, I'm going to stay brown," she said cheerfully. "Female pheasants are brown. It helps us hide our nests and keep our babies safe. Brown is a very good colour to be." Patch looked at Penny. She seemed perfectly happy being brown. "But I'm a boy pheasant," Patch said. "Boy pheasants are supposed to be colourful." Said Penny. "Maybe your colours are just taking a little longer. Or maybe you're special." She hopped closer. "Don't worry about colours yet. Do you want to find some crunchy berries with me?" Patch felt a little bit better. Penny didn't laugh at him. She liked brown. They spent the afternoon digging for food and sharing stories. Penny was a true friend. As the weeks passed, Patch and Penny explored everywhere together. But Patch couldn't help but notice his brothers changing. Their head were definitely colourful now, their tail longer, with clear gold and brown patterns, red skin showing around their eyes. They looked more like Papa Pheasant every day. Patch grew up a bit too. He looked at his own feathers, still brownish-orange, still clumsy. The teasing didn't stop. "Patch, the plane!" "Muddy feathers, Patch," they'd call, though they were mostly too busy admiring themselves to bother him all the time. Still, it hurt. One day, feeling very down, Patch and Penny wandered further than ever, drawn by faint, unusual calls carried on the wind. They reached the old stone wall at the very edge of the meadow. The calls were louder here. "Kee-ow! Kee-ow!" "What is that?" whispered Penny. Patch felt a strange flutter inside him. He had to see. They found a loose stone and peeked through the gap. On the other side was a garden unlike anything they had ever seen. And walking across the smooth green lawn were the most amazing birds Patch could imagine. They were big, much bigger than Papa Pheasant. One had a neck the colour of a brilliant blue sky, a tiny crown on its head, and a long train of feathers trailing behind him. Those feathers were dazzling green and gold, decorated with big spots that looked like giant eyes. "Kee-ow!" the magnificent bird cried again, fanning out his incredible tail like a giant sparkly rainbow. There were other birds too, some brownish like Penny but bigger, and other younger ones that looked a little bit like Patch. Patch felt a strange pull towards these grand birds. He didn't know why, but he felt less out of place looking at them. He squeezed through the gap in the wall, Penny right behind him. A large, graceful bird with softer cream feathers, but still with that elegant neck and little crown, noticed them. She walked over, her steps slow and regal. She looked kindly at Patch. "Well, hello there, little one," she cooed. Her voice was soft and musical. "Why don't you go play with your siblings?" she said, pointing at the younger birds that were brown like Patch and Penny. "Oh, Penny and I are pheasants," Patch chirped uncertainly. "But my brothers got their colours, red and green and gold. I just stayed brown." He looked down sadly. The beautiful bird tilted her head, looking closely at Patch's feathers. A gentle smile seemed to appear in her eyes. "Oh, my dear," she said softly, "you are not a pheasant. That's why your colours are different." Patch looked up confused. "Not a pheasant? Then what am I?" "Look," she said, gently guiding him towards a shiny pond. Patch peered into it. He saw his reflection. He was still mostly brownish-grey, but wait. Was that a hint of shimmering blue starting to show on his neck feathers? "You," the kind bird said, "are a peachick, a baby peacock. Your colours are just starting to come in. Peacock colours take a little longer to show than pheasant colours, but oh, when they do." She gestured towards the magnificent male bird who was proudly strutting nearby. "They are worth the wait." Patch stared at his reflection, then at the glorious peacock, then back at himself. A peachick! He wasn't an ugly pheasant, he was a baby peacock. He wasn't plain, his beauty was just starting to bloom. A wave of happiness bubbled up inside Patch. He wasn't wrong or odd, he was just different. A wonderful, different kind of bird. He grew up to be the most stunning peacock in the garden, his train a breathtaking fan of blues, greens, golds, and iridescent eyes. He loved his peacock family, but he always visited Mama and Papa Pheasant and his kind friend Penny at the wall, sharing stories and berries. Finn, Freddie, and Felix never teased him again. They all learned a lesson. Being a handsome pheasant was wonderful, being a magnificent peacock was wonderful, and being a brown pheasant was wonderful too. Being different wasn't ugly, it was the most beautiful thing of all. The end. But before you go, did you know? Baby pheasants, called chicks, and baby peacocks, called peachicks, look very, very similar when they first hatch. They are both small, fluffy and usually brownish-yellowish for camouflage. It's true that young male pheasants start to get their bright colours relatively quickly as they grow. Young male peacocks, however, take much longer. It can take them almost 3 years to get their full, magnificent colours and famous long-tail feathers, just like Patch in our story.